Hey, this is Mark, and today I've got an S3 that is here for data recovery. Um, so with the S3, it's always possible to pull off the eMMC here and read from it directly because these are not going to be encrypted. So that's a pretty straightforward way to get the data in a lot of cases. But I always check and see, can I make the device work again? So pulling the eMMC off and reading it and then putting it back on would be a huge pain in the ass, and I would get the data, but the phone still wouldn't work. So I want to do a little bit of troubleshooting first, and the easiest thing to start with is just to say, what happens when I try to boot it. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and connect my negative terminal to ground, and then here is the positive terminal for the battery. So just touch the red there, and I'm watching my DC power supply, and it consumes 3 amps immediately as soon as I touch that there. So that tells me, obviously, what we're dealing with here is a short somewhere on this board. So the easiest way to quickly find the short would be to feel around for heat. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to hold this on here while I feel. It doesn't feel like anything's getting hot on the top of the board, and ooh, something just burned my thumb on the bottom. So let's see, it felt like it was around this area. Ooh. Yep. Yeah. So it's definitely something right in here that's getting hot. So what I'll do to narrow that down is just hit it with a little bit of freeze spray. And this should show us pretty quickly and without a doubt what it is that's getting hot. Oh, and look at that. That was pretty obvious. So this guy got hot right here almost immediately. So now let's probe around that guy and see if we have any shorts to ground. So I'm going to put my multimeter in diode mode, red probe on ground, and then let's see, we've got 0.003 there. That looks like that's probably the ground pin because it goes to a big capacitor on one end. And that cap beeps on both ends, 0.003, 0.046. So that may not be a short, but I feel like this and this are probably shorted. Another 003. And it seems like everything is shorted on this chip. There we go. There's 0.45, 003, 0.45, 003, 0.45, 004, and 0.45. All right. So now those measurements really don't tell me a lot unless I take a known good board. So I'm going to take this other identical S3 board, and look at that. So this before was 0.003, now it's 0.393. This, like I suspected, is ground. 0.047, this was 0.046, so that's okay. 0.0393, which that was another one of the 003 ones. 0.4, that one was also very low before. That's another ground pin. And then 003, so that's low and was low on the other one, so I'm not worried about that. 0.4, 0.393, 0.4, 0.004, so that was low on the other one and low on this one, and 0.4. So we've got at least like what, 1, 2, 3, I think maybe four different lines that have lower resistance to ground than they should. So that tells me that the fact that this chip is what's getting hot first, and the fact that it seems to be shorting multiple lines to ground, that the chip is probably the source of the fault. So that's going to be the first thing I do with this, is to just pull that chip off and then measure some of those lines again and see if the short's gone. And really, I have no idea what that chip is or what it does. I assume it has something to do with baseband. It looks like a baseband kind of chip in a baseband kind of area. But, you know, I have no clue what it's for. All I'm worried about is getting rid of this short so I can get the data. Right. Now let's remember that orientation. Dot goes in the bottom left with the board sitting like this. Okay, so now my diode mode readings are going to be off from normal because the board is still hot. But if that has cleared shorts, then there should no longer be a short. So there we go, 0.35. The known good, it measured 0.393, and that 0.35 is slowly climbing up, 0.353 now. All right, so definitely that line is cleared of a short. This is now open line. What else did we have? There was a little guy over here, I think. He's now open line. So, you know, I'm pretty satisfied that that cleared the short. Let's just connect power and see. So now I get no current draw when I connect the DC power supply. So let's connect an LCD and prompt it to boot. See what happens. Let's see. Get out my old S3 test LCD. Haven't used this guy in a while. All right, screen connected. Push the power button. And it's pulling like 20 milliamps, 26, 25, 38. Oh, there we go. We got image. Good. Excellent. So I'm not even going to let it boot up. I'm pretty satisfied that that was the problem. And since I've got a few of these S3 boards, I'll go ahead and use this one as a donor. Pull that chip off of my donor, put it onto this board, and then put it all back together and see if it boots fully. All right. That could be aligned a little more perfectly, but you know, doesn't have to be perfect. Good enough is perfect. If I were to go in there blasting hot air for a long time, trying to get everything perfectly, get that thing sitting perfectly on those pads, then I run the real risk of overheating the CPU and eMMC, which are directly opposite. So the safe call here is to say, he's on all his pads, so he's good enough. Just cleaning up some of this flux. I'll run it through the ultrasonic before I finish reassembly and invoice, but for now I just wanted to get some of that cleaned up. Stick the sim reader back on and pop this in a housing and see if it boots up. Now, do I have a charged battery? Probably not. I may have to boot this off DC power supply just to show it boot fully with working touch. Let's see. Hey, look at that. That's surprising. That battery has been sitting for a long time. So I'll go ahead and hook up a charger just in case it's super low. There we go. Still booting. All right. Yep, we've got touch. So this one's ready to go. See, we got working touch. So, good example of simple, just basic troubleshooting to quickly find a problem and solve it. Now, there's, there might be some service manuals out there for the S3. I'm pretty sure there are. I've run across a couple of different versions of them. But they're not as good as schematics, so essentially I don't have schematics for this device. And ZXW has like the board view layout, so I could pull that up and show what kind of help that can be, which is spoiler, not much. It does help a bit with after the fact, with kind of figuring out maybe what lines were down. Even though it doesn't have the lines labeled, you can see the interconnections between things, which you could only really pick out otherwise by like just probing around randomly on the board, which, who wants to do that? But let's pull up ZXW and see what do these lines that were shorted, where do they go? What do they talk to? Oh, ZXW, why are you taking so long to load? Come on, guy. I don't know why I'm still swabbing this board. Need something to keep my hands busy while ZXW loads. And it's taking forever, so no networks found. What? Why do you think I'm offline? Let's try this again. All right, there we go. Now it's starting to load. Good. All right, so we'll switch over to ZXW real quick. And we'll go down to Samsung I series. This is the i535. All right, so here is the area of the board we were working on. And as you can see, it just shows you pads. So, you know, I click on things and look, that's ground. I can tell that's ground, but it doesn't tell me anywhere. I just know it's ground because it's everywhere. So judging from this layout, I would say where I clicked ground, those were the 4 center pads underneath that chip, right? So here is one of the big capacitors, and here is the other one. So those are both on the same line, which go to something up here. So I'll switch back to the camera and orient the board the way we were just looking. So it was, there's the big cap that was shorted, there's another big cap that was shorted, those are on the same line, and they go to this guy, which I don't know what he is, but he looks like a filter. So let's see. Yep, he beeps across 000 in diode mode, so extremely low resistance. So there's a filter. Now we'll go back to ZXW and see where does that filter go. Other side of the filter goes to, oh look, the positive terminal on the battery. So it's interesting. It was you know, pulling 3 amps, and that filter passed that 3 amps because it was this chip that's beyond the filter that was actually the source of the short. So, you know, it's surprising that that filter didn't blow. That's a pretty sturdy filter. So, you know, that totally explains the behavior. As soon as I connect power on this pin, on the, you know, the battery positive pin, the short that was over here pulled current and got hot. So, you know, makes sense. Doesn't really help a lot with, you know, diagnosing future problems, but it's kind of interesting to you know, work out kind of in a backwards way how these boards are put together. So I guess that's all I have to say about that. That was quick and easy and short. So thanks for watching, and have a good one.